The summer was supposed to be simple. Marcus, 16, was the oldest. He was tall, quiet, and liked to think before he spoke. His younger brother Danny was 14, always moving, always talking, always getting into places he shouldn't. Their cousin Joel was 15, the funny one, the one who made jokes when things got uncomfortable. The three of them had been dropped off at their grandfather's farm at the start of June with 2 suitcases, a box of snacks, and no cell service. Grandpa Earl lived alone on 40 acres of land in the middle of nowhere. There were no neighbors close enough to see. There was one dirt road going in and one dirt road going out. The farm sat at the bottom of a shallow valley surrounded by dark pine trees that never seemed to let enough light through. A bad storm had come through in May before the boys arrived. It had torn the roof off one of the storage sheds, knocked down 3 old fences, and done something to the big red barn at the back of the property that Grandpa Earl refused to talk about. He just said the barn was off limits and left it at that. The boys spent their first few weeks doing honest work. They fixed fences, they painted the storage shed, they hauled wood and cleared brush and ate big dinners at the kitchen table while Grandpa Earl talked about the weather and old baseball games. But the barn sat behind everything. It was the largest structure on the property, old and dark and leaning slightly to one side. Every evening, when the sun dropped behind the tree line, Grandpa Earl would stop whatever he was doing and go inside the farmhouse. He never said goodnight to the barn. He never even looked at it. Danny noticed first. "Grandpa doesn't go near it even during the day," he said one evening sitting on the porch steps. "I watched him walk all the way around the far side of the yard just to avoid getting close." "Old people have their habits," Joel said. Marcus said nothing. He was watching the barn. In the fading light, he thought he could see the front doors were slightly open. Just a crack, just enough to make the darkness inside look like it was breathing. The rain started on a Thursday night. It was the kind of rain that didn't ease up. It hammered the roof and turned the yard into mud and made the old farmhouse feel smaller than it was. Grandpa Earl went to bed early. The boys sat in the living room playing cards by lamplight when they heard it. A banging sound, deep and hollow, coming from the direction of the barn. "Animal got trapped inside," Danny said, already standing up. "Grandpa said stay out of the barn," Marcus said. "He said stay out of the barn. He didn't say anything about under the barn." That was the kind of logic Danny always used. And somehow, like always, it worked. The three of them pulled on boots and rain jackets and crossed the muddy yard with 2 flashlights and a crowbar Danny had found in the shed. The barn doors groaned when they pushed them open. Inside, it smelled like old hay and something else. Something rotten and sweet that none of them had words for. The banging was louder inside. It was coming from the floor. They swept their flashlights across the ground until Danny found it. A section of old wooden boards in the far corner slightly raised, as if something below was pushing up against them. Marcus used the crowbar. The boards came up easier than they should have, like they had been opened before many times. Below was a tunnel. It was wide enough for a person to walk through hunched over. Wooden supports held up the dirt walls. The air coming up from it was warm, which made no sense at all given the cold rain outside. The banging had stopped. "We should go back," Marcus said. "Just a look," Danny said, and dropped down before anyone could stop him. Joel looked at Marcus. Marcus looked at the hole. Then they both climbed down. Animal bones, small and large, tied to ropes that hung from wooden pegs in the walls. Symbols carved into the dirt. Shapes that looked almost like letters, but weren't any alphabet any of them recognized. Strips of torn clothing hanging in the dark like flags. Some pieces had dried brown stains on them. Then the photographs. They were stuck into the dirt walls with thin nails. Dozens of them, black and white in color. Faces of people, men and women, children, all with names and dates written on the back in handwriting none of them recognized. The oldest date was 1949. The newest was 3 years ago. "We need to go," Marcus said, and this time his voice had no argument in it. Then they heard the breathing. It was slow and deep, and it was coming from somewhere ahead of them in the dark. Joel's flashlight caught something at the very edge of its beam, something up near the ceiling of the tunnel. Tall and thin and bent at the wrong angles, moving fast on all fours across the ceiling like it weighed nothing at all. 4 limbs, too long, moving toward them and then gone into a side passage they hadn't seen. All three boys ran. They didn't speak until they were back in the farmhouse with the door locked and every light in the kitchen on. Grandpa Earl appeared in the kitchen doorway in his robe and slippers. He took one look at the three of them, muddy and pale and shaking, and he sat down heavily in his chair. "You went in the barn," he said. "It wasn't a question." "We went under it," Danny said. For a long moment, the old man said nothing. The rain pounded the roof. A sound came from somewhere beneath the floorboards, a soft scratching, like fingernails dragged slowly across wood. All three boys looked at the floor. Grandpa Earl did not. "I should have told you," he said. "I just didn't know how." He told them everything. 40 years ago, during a bad drought, a man had come to the farm. He was tall and thin, and he walked with a limp, and his eyes didn't sit right in his face. He asked for shelter for the night. Grandpa Earl had been younger then, and kinder in the way young men sometimes are before the world teaches them to be careful. He let the stranger sleep in the barn. The next morning, the stranger was gone, and the following week, 2 of the sheep were missing. Then a cow. Then a dog that had lived on the farm for 7 years just wasn't there one day. Then people in the nearby town started disappearing. First a farmer named Gerald Cass, then 2 teenagers who had been hiking in the woods, then a woman who had driven out this way to visit her sister. Grandpa Earl had gone to the barn then. He had found the tunnel. He had not gone far. He had gone to a man in town, an old Navajo man named Thomas, who had lived in the valley longer than anyone. Thomas had listened to the whole story without blinking. Then he had told him what was living under the farm. A skinwalker. A thing that wore the shape of animals and sometimes people. A thing that had made its home in the tunnels under the land, using the roots of the pine forest above to move unseen for miles in any direction. It had been there for decades before the stranger arrived, Thomas said. The stranger had not been a man at all. He had found the farm and decided it was a good place. "Why didn't you leave?" Marcus asked. "I couldn't," the old man said simply. "This was my land, my father's land, and Thomas told me something else. He said as long as I never named it, never invited it, never looked directly at it, it would stay below. It stays below because it has to hunt from the tunnels. It only comes up when the tunnels flood." The scratching beneath the floor got louder. "It's been a very wet summer," Grandpa Earl said quietly. The rain did not stop. Grandpa Earl pulled a wooden chest from the back of his closet. Inside were things Thomas had given him years ago. Salt, a bundle of dried sage, a small leather pouch tied with red cord. He moved through the farmhouse, placing salt along every windowsill and door frame, working fast, his hands steady in a way that told the boys he had done this before. The scratching moved. That was the worst part. It had been under the floor, and now it wasn't. Now it was in the walls. A slow, deliberate scratching that moved from the east wall to the north wall to somewhere behind the kitchen cupboards. Like something tracing the inside of the house, like something measuring it. The boys stayed in the center of the living room back to back, flashlights on, watching every corner. Grandpa Earl joined them when he finished with the salt. His face was tired but calm. "Don't answer it," he said. "Whatever you hear, don't answer it." "Answer what?" Joel asked. Then they heard it. Marcus's voice, coming from upstairs, calm and clear as anything. "Come here, I found something." Danny turned to look at Marcus. Marcus was standing right next to him. Joel grabbed Marcus by the arm instinctively, as if to make sure he was real and solid. All 3 of them were downstairs. All 3 of them were standing in the same room. The voice came again, Marcus's voice, perfectly copied. "Come here, come upstairs, I found something cool." Nobody moved. Grandpa Earl reached out and took the hands of the 2 boys nearest to him. "Don't go," he whispered. "It needs you to go. It can't come down here, not through the salt. But if you go to it, you've invited it. You understand? Don't go." Something heavy moved across the ceiling above them. Slow footsteps, too heavy for a person that thin. A long pause. Then the scratching started in the ceiling. Then nothing. The rain kept falling. The farmhouse creaked. Nobody spoke for a very long time. The storm broke just before dawn. The scratching had stopped sometime after 2 in the morning. The voice had not come back. When gray light finally started showing through the windows, Grandpa Earl stood up from his chair and looked around at the three boys who had fallen asleep sitting up. He made coffee and eggs and nobody talked much. After breakfast, Marcus asked the question they had all been thinking since the middle of the night. "What happens now?" Grandpa Earl looked out the kitchen window toward the barn. In the pale morning light, it looked ordinary. Just old wood and a sagging roof and a door that was closed now, though none of them remembered closing it. "Same as always," he said. "You stay out of the barn. You don't go near it after dark. You don't say its name because names are invitations, and you don't go anywhere alone." "Why don't you call someone?" Danny asked. "Police or someone?" The old man gave him a look that was almost kind. "And tell them what exactly?" They left it alone. The boys stayed 3 more weeks. They finished the fence repairs. They rehung the shed door. They ate dinner every night at the kitchen table and went to bed before it got too dark and never once walked toward the back of the property. The barn stayed closed. On the last night before their parents came to collect them, Marcus sat on the porch steps alone for a while. The sky was clear. Stars everywhere. He could hear crickets and the distant sound of wind in the pine trees. He was about to go inside when he noticed something. The barn doors were open again, just a crack, just enough. And from somewhere beneath the dark gap at the bottom, deep below the floor and the wooden boards and the long winding tunnel, something was breathing. Slow, patient, waiting for rain. Marcus went inside. He locked the door behind him. He did not look back. Some things do not leave. Some things are older than the land above them. Some things have learned that waiting is easy when you have been waiting for decades already. The farm sat quiet in the dark, and beneath it something smiled.